I'm responding to a comment I received recently about the employee's ability to speak up about not being paid to take phone calls about work outside of business hours. Now, it's easy enough for me, a lawyer, an employment lawyer, and an overtime lawyer to say, look, you should be paid for taking phone calls outside of business hours. But I know it takes a lot of nerves to speak up about it at work because of the fear of the consequences. You don't want to speak up at work and ask that you be paid for working off the clock when you're taking phone calls from work outside of business hours. I get it. You're afraid of retaliation. They could fire you or they could make things really hard for you at work. The FLSA protects you from retaliation if you complain or institute or cause to institute a proceeding to collect your unpaid overtime. So it will work like this. You're working 40 hours a week. Then you're taking phone calls outside office hours. And so that's unpaid overtime. If you were to complain about that, or, institute a proceeding, like getting someone to file a lawsuit or getting the DOL to investigate and file a lawsuit, then you're protected from retaliation. However, you have to be the person to speak up. You're protected regardless if you complain in writing or verbally. So if you do a verbal complaint, you're going to be okay. So just make sure that if you're going to do this, speak up and specifically talk about how taking phone calls outside of working hours will affect your overtime because you're not being paid for that. If you're unsure about this, just take a look at the DOL's website and look up fact sheet number 77A. It explains the anti-retaliation provision of the FLSA, and I hope it gives you courage and reassurance to do the right thing. Okay, back to work.